Hey, Shalom family, welcome back to Maccabees TV. As you can see here, I'm sitting here with my brother, Morey Yeshai Israel, aka Kashub the Danite. The brother called me up and he said that he wanted to do a quick interview because he had some things on his mind that he wanted to discuss. So with that being said, I'm just going to turn the floor over to the brother, let the brother get right down to business.
Giving honor and praise to Yah, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. Just want to sit there and talk about something very brief at the moment concerning naysayers. Now, for those who may know, if you saw any other interview like what we did on Maccabees TV, and I had a bag and books, well, I got this. We're going to come straight off of here with the spirit of the Most High. Now, let's understand something. Fakeness, phoniness, disrespect, etc. is not good. And so now, when you're sitting up there and you only comment when you have a disagreement with an understanding, you don't offer no constructive criticism. You don't sit there and do Proverbs 12 verse 1 and correct your brother in love and let your brother know good and well, do this and do that and offer your services when needed. You're fake. You understand? So that's one of the things to sit there and let that be noted. Every portion is not made for everybody. You understand? Everybody is not the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. You got to know what portion in the world in which you fit in at. You understand? So let that be noted and understood. Now, to the Kemetic community, which has people that's not even truly into Kemetic science, but more so, I personally call them, may not mean much to anybody else, but my personal connotation for them is the anti-Hebrew movement. Because you're not even representing Kemet, you're not representing Simatawi, you understand? You're not representing Tomeri, you're not representing the Deshret, you're not representing Huhatret, you're not representing Waset, you're not representing Tamehu. You're representing this make-believe thing that you want to sit there and bash against the Israelites. Give you an example. Somebody made an example of saying that sin, which in Hebrew is the word kata, and evil in Hebrew is the word ra. You understand? Now, the brother's presentation was basically saying that kata means sin. And when you do sin, you get ra, which is evil, to follow as a counteract to your sin. That was the man's stance. Now, here comes somebody not knowing the man's stance is going to sit there and say, y'all Hebrews always want to sit there and bash on Kemet, and ra meaning bad. Nobody said nothing as stated about Kemet, Simatawi, Mizraim, or even the Sumerian word for Egypt, which was Magan. Nobody mentioned nothing of that sort. The man was coming from a Hebraic linguistic understanding. But because you got your eyes so tunnel visioned inside of being anti-Israel and a so-called fake pro-Egypt, now you thinking Israelites were sitting up there banging on Kemet. But we was not in that stance. So instead of saying, well, you know what, I stand corrected, you just rather fall back. Maybe that's just your option and maybe that's your decision. You understand? But anytime you have a hate, yes, Ecclesiastes says there's a time to hate. Hate is simply the opposite of love. You hate the evil like you read of in the book of Amos. You understand? But when you have a spirit of hating, that's a little different. And that is to say that you have hatred covering all kinds of all aspects. So any good that could come in, you don't see it. You ain't into the linguistics of it. You're not into the linguistics of even what you call metroneta. You understand? Just dropping a little bit of history, and that is the fact that if you know good and well that ancient Egypt basically began to decline from outside sources when you had the Assyrian invasion, then you had the Persian invasion, and then after that you had the Greeks that came in after that. Now I know people probably going to be like, yo, he skipped the Hyksos. I did not skip the Hyksos because the Hyksos was not an invasion and brought war in per se. You understand? Because this is how you get to have the understanding of what you call the Rhind Papyrus, the medical papyrus. And when you go in Keith Steele's book entitled When Egypt Ruled the East, also quoted by one of the famous teachers, may he rest in peace, John Henry Clark, stated from the same book that the chariot and the horse was brought to Egypt by the people that you call the Hyksos. You understand? So this is why some scholars sit there and wonder whether or not the Hyksos really came in with war, or did they just come in and settle in, and due to the decline of the Egyptian people in Dynasty 12, they was able to rise up in Dynasty 13. So that's something that has to be maybe further looked into. Now, getting back into the situation at hand. When you're sitting up there basically saying that there was nobody named Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob, you a hater. Because you know good and well you're not going to go to the people in Arabia that lay claim to be in the children of Ishmael and say that there was no Abraham. You're not going to do that. But your stance is to try to sit there in front and act like you okay with Israelites talking about peace, brother, and then turn right around and say, these guys should, you know, allow me to come in so I can prove that they're not the blood descendants of the ancient Israelites. First off, I'm not a scientist, but I know certain things about science. And I know in the scriptures, you don't read about who is of the blood of Israel. You read the seed of Israel. See, seed, you put it in the ground, which is feminine, you get that. The earth been taking blood for years and ain't nothing grow from that.
Right.
Rain and everything else. You can bleed on soil and pour water on it and nothing will grow from it. You put seed in soil and then make sure it has the proper lighting and everything and put water, it will grow. So that providing the seed is not a dud. You understand? So that's the situation as far as that's concerned. Now, when you have the concept of saying, well, we want to prove to the people that we are not the Israelites. What then are you saying we are? Or who then are you saying we are? Because one of the things to point out, and you can look this up in your own time, when you go to the Meneptah Stela, he mentioned about 7 or 8 different people. It's rare being Israel being one of them. You understand? He mentioned Gezer, he mentioned Yanoam, he mentioned Jehenu, which is Libya. He mentioned different people on what you call the Meneptah Stela. So now we have to sit back and ask, who are these people today that Meneptah talk about? Or was he making up names as he went along? You understand? What are the names that when you go into the scriptures in Jeremiah 25 and you read about the different nations of Ararat and you read about the nations of Amalek and the nations of Tarshish and the people of Kittim, who are these people in the earth today? Obviously, those ancient nations knew who they were talking about, but it seems to be the stance of the so-called Kemetic, truthfully hating Hebrew committee that want to sit there and try to prove to the quote-unquote black man, woman, and child in the Americas that we are not the true house of Israel. Now, I'm going to give a brother a shout-out. You understand? The brother Mighty Hebrew. You understand? We've been doing a couple of lectures and videos and everything such as that recently. And wanted to sit there and speak real quick concerning the stances of some people who are quote-unquote against it. And in some of the videos that I personally made in response to those who are quote-unquote against it. Let me tell y'all something, man. If you're going to say something, know what you're talking about. I'm not here to talk tough or hardcore or anything of that sort, but just talk 100% real and honest. See, what you probably didn't know, brother, is that Kashub, the Danite, is the same person as Moreh Yeshaya. So when you're telling Kashub that you challenged Moreh Yeshaya to a battle and that he threw up the white flag, I need to know who did this happen to and when did it happen? Because now you're making up proposed battles that you can't sit there and defend your position on. Stop lying one to another. That's in our law in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 11. And the lying tongue is an abomination to the Most High. That's in Proverbs 6. You understand? So the point I want to sit back there and let it be noted is that once your stance has been noted to been faulty, once your stance has been noted to been incorrect and you refuse to make the changes along with that, something is wrong, man. Now, I want to address another issue because people was talking over people in another presentation and everything of that sort. And that is the fact of this. You're saying, if I'm understanding right, that the first human bones was found in Ethiopia. According to many people, they're saying check, yes. Now, let me ask you a question in light of that. Did the people who are referred to by many as hunter-gatherers descend from the people whose bones was found? Or are the hunter-gatherers older than the people whose bones was found? I'm not asking, because people like to twist up your question. I'm not asking, are the hunter-gatherers older than the researchers who found the bones in Ethiopia? I am asking, because people try to twist up your words, yes, you know. You understand? I'm asking, these hunter-gatherers that you said mixed in with the people who descended from those people's bones who was found in Ethiopia, which one is older? because the Hebrew have an understanding of how human being came into existence. You understand? The Sumerians have an understanding how human beings came into existence. The Egyptians have an understanding how human beings came into existence. And pro-science, which is basically the Aleister Crowley do as thou wilt kind of movement, they got their own understanding of how human beings came into existence. So this is why even when you're speaking with people who's supposed to represent Kemet, they not even able or caring to get into the history of it. They jump from history to science and then say they don't want to live by certain kinds of laws because you just move by science and by nature. But let me ask you this then, man. Is it natural, which is a part of the synonyms for nature? Because when you're in nature, you're in your natural habitat. And is it natural for the people, if you are truly the people of Egypt, if you truly are the people of Kemet, to do whatever you're doing outside of the land of Kemet? No, it's not. Because the ancient Egyptians used to sit there and feel that if they died outside of their own land, they won't be in eternity. This is why when you look at Dynasty 4, with the Khufu issue, with the big ship, they took, as stated on Maccabees TV in the past, they took their culture very serious. So they were saying this is going to be for the afterlife and this is going to be for the person and so forth. You can't emulate that same culture over here in the West. You understand? So let that be noted. Now, you may ask the Israelites the same thing. Can you do the Torah perfectly in America? No. Leviticus chapter 22, verse 25 says you can't offer the bread that comes from the hand of the foreigner to the Most High, your king, because there's a blemish in it. We can't do those types of things here. So as it says in Hosea, we take words with us. Hosea 14, it says, accept us graciously, so will we render for bullocks the offerings of our lips, and to converse, and pardon me, to convert our ways as you go, as the brother mentioned before, when you go to 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, that is not what these people teaching in science. They're not trying to tell you to get better. Let's do a roll call in the Bible. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 15 and 16 says what? Wash you, make you clean, put away the evil of your doings. You understand? Jeremiah chapter 23 says that I have sent these prophets not, but they ran. I have not spoken to them, but they prophesied. But if they had stood in my counsel, they will cause my people to turn from their evil ways and from the wickedness of their doings. Ezekiel chapter 20 says, to the children of Israel, do not according to the ways of your fathers, because they transgressed against me. So, you got Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. And for the Old Testament Israelites, that is what you would call the major prophets, where they actually sit there and each of them are basically saying in suit, basically saying, change and do better, change and do better. And this is what a lot of people don't want to sit there and have to sit there and be known and told what to do. You don't want laws, statutes, and commandments. You understand? You want to be in the brood of a married woman. Ecclesiasticus chapter 9 and the Apocrypha teaches us don't entertain a married woman. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're sitting up there and posing a presentation by saying such and such wife, and we want to sit there and have her speak, after y'all done with her, what's her worth? See, that's unintelligent. So these are certain things that we just want to sit there and let it be known and understood. You know, so far to date, and this was found in 1896, that the Merneptah Stela is the one thing that was found with the name Israel on it, which means that in 1894, people probably would have said, oh, there's no mention at all about Israel and Egypt. So my point is that people always finding things out. When they had the war back in the 1960s, the Egyptian government denied anybody to do any kind of research. This is why you find things coming up in the 1970s and 80s that they didn't know about in the 1950s. So with that being said, we have to sit back and ask, do you have the complete story of what you're talking about? Because then the more things that they're finding out, like they just found in the past 6 or 7 years, 15 more pyramids. So the point I'm saying is the more you're finding out, your story might have to change. But one thing we know about the Most High is that the Most High does not change and his law does not change. And his prophecies that he stated to his prophets do not change. Now in history, things can sit there and come up to light. You understand what I'm saying? We might have to sit there and be like, oh, okay, there was another year added on to the king that we might have not known before, or so forth and so on. Or as it says, the number of people that came out of the cities of Judah in the book of Chronicles says their number was so high that the God doing the Chronicles couldn't even number them. You understand? There might be another record where that number stated. We have stated in this past, you got the book of the prophet Gad, the book of the prophet Edo, the book of the prophet Natan. So we know good and well that the scriptures that we have, you understand, is not all in this totality that we could have gained from ancient Israel. But what we do know, brothers and sisters, is that the Most High stated in his prophecies what will come to pass. In Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. We went over this in the past, and many Israelites have gone over this in the past. The Most High will send you back into Egypt again with ships. Egypt to the Israelite mind then is like talking about Mississippi to black people in the 1940s. There was a song that African Americans, then called Negroes, had back in the 1940s that said, I don't want to go to Mississippi no more. There's a man by the door. If he grabs you by the collar, you better holler. I don't want to go to Mississippi no more. That is speaking in reference about the necktie parties that the Ku Klux Klan used to talk about with the song in the same era that Lena Horne spoke about called Strange Fruit, where they used to sit there and have black people hanging on trees. You see what I'm saying? So Egypt to the ancient Israelites represented to them, when they heard Deuteronomy 28, what the people in Mississippi was speaking about in the 1940s and what it represented to them. You understand? So when you go now for edification purposes, the word Mizraim in Hebrew, Matzor, means distress. And you can go into the book of Deuteronomy 28 verse 53 and you see that word Matzor. You also see the word Matzok. You understand? In the siege and in the straightness. The siege is the same Hebrew word Matzor. You see that same word when you go into Hebrew in the book of 2 Kings chapter 6 verse 24. Where the Hebrew word Yatzor is used from the same root word Zar, which means trouble or distress. Now, in light of that, the book of 2 Samuel chapter 1 verse 26, for the people in the down low homo committee who don't understand what happens when somebody passes away that's a loved one. When David said that, distressed am I over thee, my brother Jonathan, very pleasant hast thou been unto me, thy love to me was as the love of woman. It doesn't say passing the love of woman. It's saying that his love to him was as the love of woman. Two things to point out. One, David and him were best friends. David and him were actually related because David was married to a sister named Michal. So, and then David had loyalty to Jonathan's father, whose name was Shaul or Saul. So that is his brother-in-law, his best friend, and so forth and so on. So, but when you don't understand loyalty and brotherhood, and when you have a fake squad, and when you're sitting up there dealing with fake sciences, you can never understand what's real. Because fake and real don't mix. You understand? So that's where it boils down to it as far as that's concerned. So you're reading, very pleasant hast thou been to me. Thy love unto me was as the love of woman. First off, that means you think loving women means that you have to have sex. Now, not to sound hood, not to sound the N-word-ish, but we have to then know and understand that you got a lot of people, men and women, having sex and there's no love in it. So sex and love is two different things. Then you got people, I even know, not to blow up anybody's name at all, I know a couple of Israelites that are saying that they are a couple, but they're waiting on to be married before they can sit there and be intimate one with another. I applaud that. You understand what I'm saying? So the point I'm mentioning is the fact that sex and love is not one and the same thing. So when you're seeing that a man is saying that he had love for his brother, that doesn't mean that he's trying to sit there and do homosexual acts. Furthermore, in the Hebrew, the word shakab, and that's what's used in root in Leviticus chapter 18:22. You understand? And with a male, lo tishkab, thou shalt not lie as with the woman. It is an abomination. The root word that's used in the book of 2 Samuel 1:26 is the root word ahab, which means love. That's the same kind of love, ahab, that you show your brother, your sister, your mother, and your father. So we wanted to sit there and let that be noted and understood. You understand? To sit there and clarify all of the misperceptions or misconceptions that a lot of people have. You know what I'm saying? Not to be redundant, but as stated, real and fake don't exist. You understand? Stop sitting up there and trying to make a name off of the nation of Israel like 50 Cent got his name out there by trying to diss other rappers. Because real talk, many people in the conscious community, had it not been for the house of Israel, y'all wouldn't been known, baby. Y'all went up there. See, like it says in the book of the scriptures, to Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, and then Isaac, and to Jacob shall thee and thy seed shall all the families and all the nations of the earth bless themselves. So Israel in these debates have been a big blessing to these other people. Now, that's just throwing it, hands down. Your ratings have gone up, your popularity has gone up. People are looking up there for you to sit there and debate more Israelites and so forth and so on. But once it came down to those other debates, nobody remembers that. I have much respect for my brother Naysayers. You understand? The same day that he debated the guy Seti, nobody remembers the debate that the Moor and the Muslim guy had. People's like, who? What? Oh yeah, there was another debate that day because Israel was the stars that day. You understand what I'm saying? And the other guy who shall remain nameless talking about, oh yeah, it's the year of the Hebrews. Yo, partner, let me explain something, man. As stated, real and fake can't mix, man. When you're dealing with the king of Israel, the Most High, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, Yahweh, said by some is Yahweh, understand good and well that you can't play with this God, man. See, this ain't like Amun-Re. You understand? This ain't like Hapi, the Egyptian breast god that's a male deity with a beard that they found in the ocean. We're talking about the Most High who created the heavens and the earth. You understand? That is the one that we're speaking of. Every single thing that the Most High stated in his prophecies came to pass. In the Old Testament, we're speaking over 60% of it happened already. So why should the rest fail? The Most High spoke about Israel going into captivity by the Assyrians, and the Assyrians are saying, yeah, we took Ephraim. See? It lines up in prophecy. So now, want to sit there and just let that be noted and understood. Without Israel, a lot of those dudes would not sit there and be noted. You understand? Even when you deal in the Facebook world to a certain extent, you know what I mean? They always trying to tag Israelites and find out what the Israelites is doing. And let's sit there and have another debate between Israelites and whoever. And when Israelites is turning their back on debating everybody else, well, let's see what the Israelites will debate other Israelites. Nah, I'm not debating a messianic brother, man, for y'all entertainment, because y'all don't care about the 39 books of the old or the 27 of the new. You don't really care whether King James was truly a man of color who was defecated on by the Jesuits. You sitting up there comfortable thinking that King James was a white homosexual. You understand? So you're not really concerned about the preservation and the knowledge of who we are as being the children of Israel. So my point is this. You understand? I am what you would call an Old Testament brother. If you're not understanding 1 John 5:3, that the commandments of God are not grievous, don't ask me to sit there and debate a brother who's messianic. Don't sit there and do that, because you don't care, as stated, about either part of the Bible. So let that be noted, hands down. The issue that will be with Israel, and it's not to sit there and throw stones, is always going to be an issue with messianic and non-messianic until the Most High, God, straighten that out. And then y'all lets everybody know, this is my messenger. This is the Mashiach who I will send. This is who I am sending. This is who is returning. The Most High will sit there and clarify that. You understand? Both the Old and the New Testament sit there and tell you that, because in the New Testament, it says even the one who is referred to as the Son, Yahushua or Yahshua, in the Son, it says even he knows not the hour of the return. The Old Testament, when you get into it, the Most High said sarcastically in Isaiah, and who is the shepherd that will stand before me? So in other words, people don't know. Basically, we all who know ourselves as Israel have to do as Zephaniah 2:1 says, gather together, O nation not desired. So we need not waste our time trying to sit there and satisfy every so-called Kemetic person's understanding and comment, because you don't really see Israelites going into their debates and commenting. They always in the Israelite Maccabees TV. They always on the Basim show. They always sitting up there dealing with the South show when the House of Israel is being presented. You understand? So this is something that has to be noted and understood. Now, one of the things to clarify for all Israel and for everybody else listening, rape doctrine. The Torah, which is inclusive in the Tanakh and the King James, does not condone rape. The brothers from FOPE, the brother Shema Allah, excellent brother. Shout out to you. Excellent presentation about that. Now I would like to add on to that by basically saying something concerning this kind of matter right here. Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 28, where it says what? If a man finds a damsel that is not betrothed and takes hold of her and lies with her, and they be found. There's something to note if you go from Deuteronomy 22 verse 23 all the way to the end. The first part in verse 23 and 24, it speaks in reference about the damsel that is inside the city and doesn't cry. And pardon me, it speaks about the betrothed woman that is in the city and doesn't cry out. Then you go into the betrothed woman that is in the field and cries out when she's being attacked and nobody's there to save her. But when you go to verse 28 and 29, you don't read about her crying out, you don't read about the city, and you don't read about the field. Because, and this is why verse 28 at the end is important, because it says, and they be found. The Hebrew, when you're dealing with Hebrew with the vowel, says, wa ning za'u. Ning za'u comes from the Hebrew root word ma'zah. Ma'zah means to find. When you're dealing with Hebrew, and a lot of brothers who even try to present a rape doctrine, speaking not the Shalamim Hebrew that the Strongs used, they speak in Lashawan Kwadash, which the Strongs does not use. And they still quoting the Qual stem, the Nif Al stem, the PL stem, the Po Al stem, the Hef Il, the Hofal, and the Hepa'el. So I'm asking, brother, with the rape doctrine that you're talking about, does this Hebrew that you're talking about, the Shalamim Hebrew that you get out of Strong's Concordance, is that supporting the same Hebrew that you're speaking? No. Therefore, you need to stop trying to post things for edification purposes without understanding what it's talking about. So now, not to be haughty or arrogant, blessed be the Most High, a brother who has studied a little bit into that, if you may say. The word that's used in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28, when it says Nim Za'u, and they be found, Ma'zah, to find. That is called in Hebrew the qual stem, which is basically the active. Then you have the nif'al, which is the passive, which is something that's happening to oneself. See, my hand here, which is my left hand, this is being passive. My right hand hitting it is being active. So that's the difference between passive and active. So when you're dealing in Hebrew with the Hebrew that is used in Deuteronomy 22, verse 28, when it says, and they be found, that means that they didn't want to be found and it came out. That's why it doesn't mention about her crying out, because she was a willing participant. That's what that's talking about. Then verse 29 says, he shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and he cannot put her away, divorce her, or sit there and cast her aside all the days of his life, because he hath humbled her. What the Lord is teaching is this, brothers and sisters. You're not going to be going around there playing gigolo. I'm going to sit there, sleep with her, impregnate her, take her virginity. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to keep it clean. You know the street terminology for that. You understand you don't do popping and that kind of thing in the house of Israel and expect the Most High to bless that. Nah, you do that and y'all be found out. She exposes it. It comes out through a pregnancy or so forth and so on. You stuck with that. There is no truthful, if you understand Torah, there is no broken families in the house of Israel. That right there, if Torah is truly practiced, that doesn't exist. The whole culture does not exist. There is no alimony given when the divorce unfortunately does happen in Israel. Leviticus 21 tells you if a woman loses her husband or she gets divorced, she goes back to as it states, as we stated, she goes back to her father's house. So this independent woman is not the move for the truth for our sisters. You understand? And black women to a great extent really and truly know that. You understand what I mean? You know good and well that most sisters looking up to brothers and want brothers. You understand? So as far as it goes down in that particular aspect. Now, in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28, and we're going to conclude, the key word also in that particular case is the Hebrew word tapash, said by some as the Hebrew word tapath, which literally means to manipulate or to wield. So basically what Deuteronomy 22, verse 28 is saying, it says, if a man find a damsel that is not betrothed and wields her and lays with her, to put it in street terminology, because we're speaking to people of color, he run that game on her, took her virginity, and they be found out. You got to sit there and be stuck with that perpetually. You understand? Because the true Hebrew word for rape, when you go into it, is the Hebrew word anas. And that's not the word that you see there in Deuteronomy chapter 22. The word to lie carnally is the Hebrew word shakab. That is something else that we spoke about earlier. And the other situation concerning this matter, brothers and sisters, and concluding this matter right here, is that Israel, we're going to come together. You understand? As stated, this is not the year 2015. Real talk, we are in Harlem. Now, as a brother who is real talk, that's Old Testament based, I remember being raised in this as a little child when I'm like 2 years old. I would see the brothers from One West. And I'd be like, you know, I'm gonna walk across the street, you know what I mean? Because they're gonna snap on my Jewish tassels and everything like that, quote unquote. So let me just walk opposite of them 1994, 1995. You understand? But something happened that made Israel even not realize, that caused Israel to come together much more tighter than we had ever thought 20, 25 years ago. You understand? The kind of slurs that Israel was making against each other between quote unquote messianic and non-messianic was kind of dangerous. You understand? But blessed be the Most High, it's going to be a new day with or even without us. Because the Most High said in Ezekiel 37, take one stick and write on it Judah. Take another stick and write on it Ephraim. And put the two sticks in your hand and the kingdom shall return. So that's in Ezekiel 37. So that prophecy is already going to be stated. You understand? So in concluding, just want to sit there and basically say thanks to the Most High on a human level, giving thanks to Maccabees TV, the brother Danyala, giving a shout out to AOC, giving a shout out to the Mishpacha drummers, giving a shout out to the brother as stated by Basim, the brother Mighty Hebrew, doing your thing. We're going to talk. You understand what I mean? Got some things in the works and so forth and so on. But just basically saying what it is with that. We are in the Hebrew month of the 7th month. And you understand what I'm saying? And we got days like the Day of Atonement coming upon us and the days of the Feast of Booths. If you ain't being able to find those things that you see in Leviticus chapter 23 inside the walls of Egypt, stop saying the Bible's plagiarized from Egypt. You're lying on the Bible and Egypt in that. You understand? So, shalom.
All right, brother. So if people want to get in touch with you, just remind them. Every time we do an interview, we have to remind the people how they can reach you. Okay. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Facebook or email, and I'll give you both. If you care to reach me on Facebook, it's an open Facebook. Kashub Danite. K-A-S-H-U-B. Danite. D-A-N-I-T-E. Kashub Danite. You can look that up and you see the word historian mixed in there, and that's me on there. And email morehone@yahoo.com. MOREHONE @yahoo.com. That's the best way, either way, to reach me.
All right, brother. Well, I'm sure a lot of our people that's watching are going to be reaching out to you. And also want to say to everybody watching that this brother and myself, we did a video about a week ago that's going to go up behind this one, where we're sitting in the same place and the table is filled with books. And the brother's going to go into that history because we know that that's why you watch this, brother. You watch to get the history. And you got some history in this lesson. But in the next lesson that I'm going to post behind this one, it'll be a full hour and a half worth of nothing but information. So look forward to that. So with that, once again, we say shalom. We'll see y'all the next time.
Shalom.